No, seriously, I do like stories, and as I was preparing my remarks for this afternoon, I kept thinking about what an incredibly unique moment in time this is. And I just wonder how many of us here truly appreciate it. And one of my favorite memories from childhood happened on a backpacking trip I took with my dad and my brother to Colorado. I've probably thought about that trip 1,000 times over the years. What happened was incredible, but that's not why I remember it. I remember it because the odds of it actually happening were so astronomically small that I've never forgotten it. We left home in late afternoon and drove all night. My dad believed then and still believes today the only way to go through West Texas is at night. And we arrived, sorry guys, we arrived in Pagosa Springs late morning the next day, and after stopping by a local fly shop to get a few fishing supplies, we went straight to the trailhead and were hiking up to Turkey Creek Lake by early afternoon. About 4 or 5 miles in, we entered this particularly tough stretch of incline and stopped to rest. And as we were sitting there on the side of the mountain, just relaxing, just appreciating our surroundings, we heard this enormous crashing sound coming down the side of the mountain above us. And a few seconds later, a huge mule deer came busting out of the trees and stopped on the trail right in front of us, no more than 2 feet from where I was sitting. And I still remember how enormous this thing was. I mean, it was 3 feet from antler to antler. It was just huge. And it was breathing hard, and it was winded. His sides were going in and out, and every time he exhaled, you could see his breath in that cool mountain air. And I was so close to that deer that I could have reached out and touched it, literally. And I've wished 1,000,000 times since then that I'd done it. I mean, think about that. How many chances do you get in your life to just sneak up on a wild animal like that? By the time I collected myself just from the shock of seeing this huge thing that close in front of me, it was already gone. And it didn't take him long to catch his wind. I mean, he smelled a sweaty junior high kid and slipped over the edge and continued down the side of the mountain pretty quick. A few minutes later, though, I could hear his hooves pounding on the river rocks as he followed the stream down the mountain. It was haunting, and I've always associated that sound with the sound of a missed opportunity. But I've never forgotten it. I've always been fascinated at the mathematical probability of that encounter. I mean, what are the odds of 3 men leaving their home 850 miles away and arriving on the side of a mountain at the exact moment in time that a trophy mule deer crosses their path? I mean, if we'd have just stopped one more time for coffee, we would have missed that moment. If we'd have stayed just 1 minute longer in the fly shop, we'd have never seen it. And if I'd have just stopped one more time to lace up my hiking boots on the way up, it never would have happened. So much that we can't fathom depends on the small daily decisions we make. So much hangs in the balance. And that brings me to this afternoon. You are here, whether you realize it or not, at a perfect moment in time. Through a series of thousands of decisions, you have arrived at this moment in your life. You're here. And the mathematical probability against it is overwhelming. And yet here you are. I believe that's because you're meant to be here. That your steps have been ordered for this exact moment. Have you thought about how amazing it is that we're all here? I mean, do you realize how unlikely this all is? 7 years ago, a group of state legislators in Texas decided the best way to prepare for growth in energy consumption in their state was to deregulate their wholesale and retail electricity markets. A year or so later, Jerry Thompson decided to re-enter telecommunications with a company focused on selling local phone service. And 2 years after that, some bureaucrats in Washington changed the tariff and turned his attention to opportunities in deregulated energy. A few months after that, he invited me to lunch at Potbelly's in Addison, Texas, to discuss direct selling as a marketing vehicle for electricity service. And 6 months after that, we made a list of 10 people that we thought might want to be consultants. And we are all here this morning at the end of a series of perfectly timed circumstances that have transpired on our behalf in order to create a unique opportunity for our success.